Hello.
It helps if I unmute myself. How are you?
I'm good. I'm here.
Excellent. You are here, and nobody could actually hear what I was saying because I unmuted you and not myself. So, welcome. So, as I was saying to everybody, we are out of whack tonight. This is a Tuesday night special edition. I am not reading for people tonight, but I did want to introduce you all to Pablo. Pablo is a very, I will say, talented tattoo artist that I reckon I met you back. I was trying to work out, it must have been about 2013.
Yeah, it would have been.
When you did my first tattoo. I was thinking about that yesterday and I thought, yeah, it's got to be about 2013. But you're not just an ordinary tattoo artist, so to speak, are you? Would you like to share with people what you do?
Well, it's really interesting to say, you're a tattoo artist, because it's like there's so much more like complexities to what I do and what I think about tattoo now,
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when I first started, like it was all about you're just a tattoo guy. You come into a shop and there's like pictures on the wall, and that's all you get. If you didn't have what you wanted on the wall, then you just walk out.
Yeah.
And then I was able to kind of like be in that generation where like, sleeves weren't really much of a thing unless it was a particular style, like Oriental. So it became this thing of like artists going, hey, let's just do the background behind the stuff that you picked on the wall. And that's when you started to see the artists come into play, because you started to see the backgrounds were sometimes better than the pictures that they picked on the wall. And the ones on the wall were done like to death. Like I've done some of them. I went to Highness Street Tattoo the other weekend and still got the same flash charts from when I was an apprentice. I would have done some of them 1,000 times over.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing was that's when you started to see the backgrounds come into play in the artistry. So that's where like I was in that unique pocket where it transformed from tattooist to tattoo artist.
Yeah.
And then, people started to go from the next pieces to say like, whoa, you did such a good background and you really got into doing all this. How about you just design something fresh from the start, But then that's all the artist stuff, right?
Yeah.
And what I feel in that same way of between tattooist and tattoo artist, now we're starting to see like the tattoo artist, but then go back to basics, like go into the roots. Still hard to say what what you'd call this. Like, is it holistic? Is it esoteric? Is it intentional tattooing? But the premise is people are understanding that the tattooist has been on a pedestal for so long, and it's almost a rock star mentality, and it's pumped up by the media, right?
Yeah.
So it's losing its integrity, and a lot of people can say it's quite vain. There's a lot of vanity now, But to people who know that there's something more meaningful behind their tattoos, the experience isn't there now, because it's this production line. It's sitting with headphones on, for example, slaving away 8 to 10 hours for a piece, and you get an Instagram mention at the end of the night, you get your validation and it's all good and you've paid $3,000, whatever. But the point being is like the whole time you're not really connecting, you're not really embracing like tattoo ritual, if that makes sense. It's just you're just sitting there waiting for a nice picture to feel good about it later and showing off this exquisite art. And I'm all about the art. Art's great. But what I'm saying is like people going, hey, I want a better experience than that. I want to be able to converse with my tattooist. I want to be able to just be myself. So
yeah,
I guess like a long way to answer your question of like what it is I do and whatever. So I'm really focusing more on like behind the scenes. So I've done this long enough where like I can be autopilot with my art and now focus on the experience. And when you focus on the holding space, because we're facilitators, we're holding space for people. And particularly since I chose to leave, where I was tattooing you, the studio.
Yeah.
When I became tattooing in isolation, like moving on my own, that's where I started to realize, the psychic stuff that started coming back to me, the ability to tap into people, and then everything started working from that. You need to remove yourself from it all to understand where I'm coming from, because if you're in it, you'll never grasp what I'm trying to say. But when you're on the other end of it, it's really, really powerful. And whatever it is that I'm doing, it's like leading into something new and exciting. But at the same time, it's just rediscovering old ways.
That's it. And it's interesting you say that, because I remember when you did my, I think it's called a, is it Vietnamese lily that I got on my shoulder?
Yeah.
And it's got my grandparents sort of passed over with all their initials. So I remember coming into the studio and it being a very small space and very crowded and sort of impersonal sort of thing. But the thing I do remember about that day is I could see the intuition in you, and it was like you could see that that was trying to come out and shine, but it was being overcrowded by the work environment and the people around you and whatnot sort of thing, because it is sort of like a belief, in a sense, that, you know, when you go into the tattoos, there is a stigma to it sort of thing. And it has, and like from the experience that I had with you last week, has changed massively sort of thing. So there's been a lot of growth.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Like, just
So to come to your home and to sit in your own space, be very relaxed and just be yourself, not worrying about what you're saying, what people are around you, to sit there under your pyramid, or lay there under your pyramid, I should say, with all your beautiful crystals and stuff around, to be able to be tattooed, sort of thing like that. It was, I want to say, grounding is probably the best word I can put to it. Very relaxed, very grounded, be myself sort of thing, and just be open to what comes. But it wasn't just the tattoo itself, it's the extra experience that came with it. So would you like to explain to everybody and tell them about your device, your handpiece, your programming that you have that can lead to so much more?
Yeah, so this kind of developed over time, because when I've been doing this for 5 years, like on my own. When I first started out, it was very much the same thing with tattooing in a studio. But then it's one particular day I chose to shut the door, and I was like, nah, this is my experience. This is what I'm going to do. Because I divided 2 rooms. I've got an open space for people there that don't know my space. It's a big open plan, but it's almost like two rooms. And I had one that was set up just for tattooing. And then the other room, when I started to get into Reiki and develop all this stuff, and I wanted to do like that on the side as a side hustle, I had my pyramid and everything all set up completely opposite. So my clients were always asking me, oh, what's that over there? And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm doing this thing called Reiki, and, you know, you'd like to do it sometime. And then it's just like, I had to make a choice. It was like a fear thing. So when I remember this distinct day when I finished a client, shut the door, and I was like, no, I'm just going to get rid of everything and have the pyramid right where it needs to be, and then work around that, and take control of my experience, because that's what you're here for. It's for me to be it's an extension of who I am and what I bring to the table. So then I started to just do Reiki straight up off the bat for people, because I found that if, especially psychologically and how people handle pain. I mean, that's a whole nother topic conversation, but I've really broke down the psychology of pain and how people handle pain, what it says about people. Yeah. So I can break it down into like 3 phases, if you will. So pain brings people to the most present. Pain will make people run and avoid pain. So they want the numbing cream and they tap out, or, you know, whinge and complain sort of thing. That's a lot of psychology behind that. Or they go into the punishment ritual, which is like they feel like they want the pain, and we're there to confirm to them, yes, you do. So, you know, but whatever. But what I found is when you start to tap into the individual, like understanding that they're coming into my space, it's no longer about me, and I'm holding space for them. And that's where you start to pick up the subtleties, when you're able to give 100% of your attention to someone.
That's it.
The little micro expressions, the little, you know, you mention something and they just have a little wince, and you're like, oh, what's going on there? Let's explore that, you know, like those type of things. You can't do that in any other setting. Yeah. So, you know, going back, so then I'll start doing like Reiki, and then lots of things come up when you start grounding people. So when they go into the tattoo, they're handling the pain quite well, because they're grounded. People come in such a fluster and such a hurry. It's almost just horrible. You're setting up for failure sometimes going into a 6-7 hour session when you're so flustered. So I found Reiki was a very important, pivotal part of beginning. So maybe we'll have a ceremonial drink. We'll have like sometimes it was a stare meditation. Sometimes it was just a bit of a Rife treatment with the ethereal body stuff that I've been tracking, which works really well. Or we do a little bit of Reiki and then start the tattoo. So it started very primitive like that. But then what I found is, as I was doing Reiki, then I get messages. and I could learn so much more about the individual, which I kept to myself for a long time. And I just had to find ways to introduce it into the day. Like, oh, I read this from a fortune cookie and it said, do this, and oh my God, really? That's what my mom always used to say. Yeah, I should remember to do this. And so I had to be very crafty because I was always a bit afraid of like saying, hey, someone told me this and this is what I have to say to you. And then I found that very traditional methods would scare people, or I guess the people that have a very scientific mind, they'd question it a little bit, like, what's this voodoo hocus pocus stuff you're doing, putting your hands over me and saying this and this and this. A lot of people kind of like test me, and you could see full well, like you can feel what's going on with them, but some people just shell up and they don't want to expose themselves. They're like, I'm just here for a tattoo. So the first few years of doing what I do was met with a lot of resistance, or it was the total polarity difference where they were just embracing it. But I always love the people that challenge me, because it makes you a better person. You can't always be surrounded by people that are ideal clients. You need those difficult ones. And that's what led me to, exactly. Yeah. And that's what led to me to be able to explain things in different ways. Because I feel like if you understand, if you're trying to showcase knowledge, there's no point just memorizing a quote from a book or a YouTube clip. That you're not really wise. True wisdom. It's like the analogy of a lawyer, right? So you have like lawyer talk. So you sit around to the layman and talk lawyer talk. No one's going to get that. It's just going to go out their head. You've got to have the ability to break it down in so many different ways, layman's terms, movie analogies, whatever, to help people at different levels understand. And that shows true understanding of your knowledge. So I kind of feel that it led to me to understand, hey, maybe I need something scientific, something legible, tangible for somebody to understand energy systems. So then my neighbor actually introduced it to me, because what I was trying to say with my traditional research was the effects of the third eye via tattooing. I believe that tattooing itself stimulates the third eye chakra. And I've had other Reiki practitioners come over to try and assess, before and after and stuff. And I always found it very hard. So my neighbor actually said, oh, have you heard of Keelian photography? I was like, what's that? And that's a very old form of photography that would show energy systems of plants and living things. And they call it like electrographs. They'd do your hand and show the aura around the hand. Yeah. And that's where the aura technology starts coming into play from that technology in Russia. So I started doing a bit of research, and then I found this system called Aura Cloud 3D, and it's basically made a technology that is biofeedback system. So like when you go to a naturopath and you put your hands on the plate and it does that pulse wave thing to understand your vitals, it converts it all to energy information. So it was developed in America by a team called Interactive that are Reiki practitioners primarily, that they work with to develop this. Because a lot of Reiki practitioners want to be able to show their clients tangible evidence and proof of their practice. Yeah. And it combines the most state-of-the-art version of the 1940s or earlier electrograph for their hands and the Keelian photography. So I was like, double whammy, awesome. So since I started integrating that, it's made because it took me a while to trust it. I still am a bit old school and I want to feel it for myself, but now I've learned to embrace it. I trust it 100%. So now when people come in and see my space, we do an evaluation now via this system. I mix a little bit of traditional with the technology. And from the information, it's your emotional well-being, it's your chakras, it's your aura colors, what energy is coming through your ethereal body, all these different things you can understand, your energetic output and stuff like that, to then help me understand not only, okay, what's the tempo today? So if you're needing of some grounding, well then I know, okay, we're going to put some frequencies, I do frequency therapy and stuff too, so we can choose the sounds to get your brainwave, from up here to sort of down, because we always want you sort of around theta state, because that's the ultimate state you want to be in when you're doing sound baths and meditation, and ultimately when you get tattooed, you want to be in that state. Eventually you get there unconsciously anyway when you're tattooing, like even in a tattoo studio environment, after a while you just get to a point where you just like, but if we can do that from the start, then it works out to be quite good, and that's where it opens up to other things. So I know it sounds pretty confusing to people, I guess, from off the bat, because they're like, hey, what's this got to do with tattooing? But there's a reason behind all of this. So I'm sort of going a bit forward, and then I guess our conversation will go a little bit backwards. So then you can see how what I'm talking about, the language I'm using and things that I'm doing is actually just a modern version of what happened 5,600 years ago with the oldest ever tattooed specimen. And basically that era, the Bronze era, well, I guess I'll quickly touch on that, but it's like shamans were the first tattooers, essentially. And the first tool that was ever used for tattoo was a crystal, and it was flint and it's obsidian. Wow. Yeah. So when you understand the metaphysical properties of flint, you can understand why they would probably use a tool like that.
And it's very sharp.
yeah, and obsidian, you know. And the inks were for specific rituals, different types of herbs like Palo Santo, white sage, hyssop, all different types of things were used for different remedies to put into the skin. And ceremony, you know, they would have sounds like people playing music and drums and stuff like that. So it's the same as the frequency therapy stuff. You'd go see a shaman like you would for any other type of doctor, for any type of ailment. And like the shaman would select the area of the body to be tattooed via the meridians. Tattooing was a meridian-based therapy. He would understand your energy systems. He would understand all the things that's wrong with you. He would know the timing in which you need it done. So there's like an initiation process to be tattooed. You don't just book in with your shaman to get tattooed. They would select the right time. You wouldn't know. So I guess, like, to go back to the conversation just before, you can see why it's a bit of a modern take on that now. So you're coming in now, we're evaluating your energy fields, we're having conversations, we're understanding your state of being prior to the tattoo to then make it more intentional, the ceremony, the ritual. And obviously, where does the art play into this, the design? Well, that's all worked out prior. So I spent a lot of time designing and working, co-creating with the client. So then by the time the design's done, so much of communication has been done, we're not even thinking about the tattoo on the day.
That's it.
It's so rehearsed in your head, you just know what's going on. And that's why it's so successful the way I do it, because you just open up to the experience I have to offer on top of that. And then you've just got this nice little imprint, you know, like yourself, you've got that beautiful little design now.
Yes, just it's a little bit scabby at the moment, but I'm going to get it the right way.
Yeah. But the premise of that, and you can be a testament to that, like you could have 20 other tattoos done by other people, but when you look at that one, that's that imprint. You understand your state of being emotionally, energetically, you know, what we talked about, like it helps you understand a little bit more about yourself when you look at that tattoo.
Oh, definitely. And the thing is, like, I might get you to explain to people a little bit more about meridians, because a lot of people don't understand that side of it. And I think you will do more justice to that than what I could. But to sit with you, like, I sent through a photo to you of what I wanted, and then you sort of explain, we're going to go through this sort of process where, you know, we're going to look at what the tattoo means, where you want it on the body, why you want it. So for me, where I've got it is, you explained, is the heart meridian. And it's quite funny because the design has the 7 hearts in it, sort of thing, in that way. So the way it all comes together and it brings the color into it as well is incredible.
Yeah, the colors, the symbology of what you have chosen to put on you, like, that speaks volumes. You know, when you look at the color therapy, like color psychology is a real thing. You know, it's used in marketing and all different facets of our culture. And just using those colors speak a lot. I mean, the colors are a frequency. You are introducing the 7 colors to you. So that's a balance thing, right?
Yep, definitely.
I'm sure you would have either consciously or unconsciously thought of that during the designing process. You know, you've got the 7 hearts.
That's it. Yeah. Well, for those that don't know, that is actually the design on the front of our cover of our oracle cards, sort of thing. And
just couldn't do it silver, unfortunately. They don't have safe enough ink.
Yeah, that's it. But, you know, for me, I knew for 5 years that I wanted a tattoo on my wrist, and I kept getting drawn to words. I thought, you know, believe, love, the typical sort of stuff that a lot of people will go for. But it was like, all of a sudden, I'm sitting here not long ago and I'm looking, I'm going, Leanne, you clown, that's the design that's got to go there. But for me, it also marks the birth of the cards as well. So it's sort of my way of acknowledging an achievement in my life, sort of thing as well. So that's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, definitely. And instinctively, like, let's forget that there's even ink on your skin, right? What chose you to partake in that ritual in that particular area of your body?
Exactly.
Right. So a lot of people, I'm going into some deep grounds here, but I'm always thinking about the whys, you know, like why did people get tattooed? Why do people choose to, it's like the same analogy of getting a massage. You know, you go to a massage therapist because you intuitively feel, say, example, your shoulder. You're like, I need to get my shoulder done. You're not asking your massage therapist what should they massage. You're not going to your friends, what's an area I think I should get massaged. You're not going to Instagram going, what's the 5 hottest spots to be massaged. It's a very intuitive thing, and much the same. A large percentage of the time, people choose the area to be tattooed before they think of what to be tattooed there. And I think that's a subtlety that you can overlook. And I guess why I'm going down this path is because the way that I see tattoos now, as opposed to when I started 20 years ago, is completely different. I don't see it as just an ink like pattern artwork. I see it as how do I say it? It's like a dermal diagnostic imprint of information of one state of being.
That sounds very technical.
So you can learn a lot about somebody just from their tattoo. So someone joked with me the other week about, oh, you're an ink whisperer, because I saw them at a pub and I was so drawn to asking them the question based on what I was reading from their tattoo. I said, oh, were you going through, X, Y, Z? And they were, how do you know that? And I go, well, your tattoo kind of reveals that. And I explain why. And they were just like, get away from me, man. Like,
it's a bit scary, isn't it?
Yeah, but when you break it down to its fundamentals, there's a reason why. There's no coincidences why you choose the area to be tattooed, right? And that's something you always, as a practitioner, you have to address, right? Much the same way if we go back to the massage analogy. And then as a practitioner that is aware of all these things, you have a choice. You have a fork in the road. And it's much the same with your practice or anything in the spiritual community. You have a choice to be in integrity with your alignment of your craft, your practice, and your morals, or you could go the path of money, vanity, and whatever. So in the analogy of the massage therapist, you can sit there and be like, all right, say the shoulders, for example. They keep coming back week after week and it's still there and you're still massaging and it's all good. But sooner or later, you're going to sit there and be like, isn't your job to fix that, to treat that? You're not really a good practitioner if they're coming back 6 times now weekly, right? So when you have a little bit more wisdom about your craft, you'd be looking at the psychosomatic aspects of the shoulders. So if you would understand that the reason why there's tension in your shoulders is emotional connection to burdens and responsibilities, putting others onto you and holding that all the time, you'd understand, and maybe suggest to them, hey, what's your lifestyle like? Why don't you figure out what's going on here? Because I feel that once you address that, the energy of the shoulders will stop tightening up and you'll have a bit more success with the treatment. And much the same way as the tattoo, like you would look at the tattoo and be like the area in which they're being tattooed and the meridians, and you'd address those emotional instances. And it just gives you clues and insight into people when they come in, because they're not aware of it. So you're bringing the unconscious to conscious. And you have a choice, as a practitioner, to reveal that or not reveal that. Most tattooists, when I explain this system, I guess you could call it a system, they're like, oh, I don't have time for that. I just worry about the tattoo. But like, there's a certain point in your career where it's like, it's got to matter. It's got to matter about the people that you are holding space for, even if you just remember their kid's name or their favorite movie, it's personal, it's intimate. There's an intimacy.
That's
I just take it to that other level because it's like, I feel it's in my nature to kind of give people seeds. I want to see them grow, and I should do testimonials and stuff. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Like I solely believe what I do, and I feel what I do. I know what I do, and I get told all the time from people. I've tattooed people over 20 years, and I still tattoo some people from day one, and I've seen them thrive and grow. And that to me is what makes me sleep well at night. It's not necessarily the artwork that gave me the Instagram fame or whatever. I don't give a shit about that. It's just about the connection with people, You know,
That's
I've always
it.
had that, you know.
Yeah. And one thing I found also, and Simone's just asked a question, I will bring that up in a moment if you don't mind answering questions. But one thing I found, just to have that conversation with you and go into depth while you're tattooing, it takes the focus away from, for those that don't like pain. I must admit, it wasn't a lot of pain. For me, it's more of a gentle scratch type of thing, but my pain tolerances are quite high. So to be able to actually understand that stuff and to be able to have it explained to you can be, I want to say there's a really healing element to it, especially for people that are doing like memorial tattoos and stuff like that. It takes it all to another level as well. So but we might touch on memorial tattoos very shortly. Simone's just asking, what does the tattoo on the neck suggest? Now, I think hers is sort of back here, just behind the ear, but down a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not too familiar with the meridian off the top of my head. I didn't come prepared. I'm not a Dr. Carl from Triple J that has all my notes in front of me. But I can definitely look that up. But I know, for example, the sorry, just something blew in my eye. The neck is a lot to do with support, and depending on if it's at the back of the neck, front of the neck, side of the neck, there's different touches of that, and sometimes it's to do with the emotional side of the body, the physical side of the body support. It's also to do with the masculine and the feminine energies of that. So if you're not getting support from the masculine, for example, will flare up more on the right side of the body. So there's things to play there. Back of the neck is suggesting a lot of like protection, because when you think about, at least in an esoteric sense or a more tribal sense, the back of the neck was always like, the people in the jungle say that Amazon would always have a mask or some sort of thing with eyes on the back of their head when they're traveling, so the tigers don't actually pounce them from behind. So it's like it's a protection thing almost. You could almost say. So there's little nuances and variances of that. I've probably done a bit of a botched job explaining that, but a lot of it essentially is to do with support.
Yeah. That's quite interesting, because I know Simone fairly well, sort of thing. You'll probably get to meet Simone very shortly. Simone's one I do the paranormal stuff with it as well. So she's just saying she's got the music note on her neck. So
well, that's frequency. So that's good. You know,
she's very in tune.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Do you want to touch a little? Oh, and it's on the right side. I clicked on that, not realizing.
Yeah. So that's her emotional side. So obviously she has emotional connection to her music. It's probably one of the main things that gives her the greatest support. She's probably got a soundtrack for every type of thing that goes into her life, from a breakup to a feel-good moment, and you know, as you know. But
she's got drawers and drawers of music.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful.
But also interesting to note that, seeing as all colors are frequency, black is the color of silence. The frequency of silence. There's no frequency to black. So when you start to see more black being used in tattoos, she'll appreciate this. So if she's heard of a thing called synesthesia, which is the mixture of the senses, meaning that when you hear music, you can see the colors corresponding to the music, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So when you understand that and you apply it to tattoos, understanding the color psychology, but also the color as frequency. So the color palette of any tattoo, when you break it down to the certain colors and say there's 7 colors used in a tattoo, there's 7 sounds. So you have someone who can sit there and be like, oh my God, I'm seeing or I'm hearing the sounds based on what I'm seeing in the tattoo, the colors. So you got to look at tattoos also being a symphony of frequency and sound. And that when you understand that world, it blows your mind when you're looking at stuff. So then you can understand when there's too much black. So the distortion of the sounds and the frequencies when there's too much black is a huge factor. What's the thing? Shut up, you're spot on.
The pink top does come out occasionally.
Yeah, but black's also used in a balance. In a balanced sense, it's this is the color psychology stuff. It's used for grounding.
That's why I went from earthy to black today when I got home.
Yeah, and also black where you put it on the body. So you might wear all color tops, but then you've got black on your feet. That's saying you want to be more rooted and more grounded, right? So black used in balance is primarily to do with grounding. black to less of black, for example, is being scattered, being quite just the word scattered, and when you're using too much of it, too excess, it's a lot to do with control, fear of what you can and can't control, and it becomes like the power to, or the fear of losing, or the power to keep it, those type of things. So it's interesting when you look at it just in that way as a tattoo artist in particular, and you watch their different, when you break it down artistically and you're looking at their artwork from just a purely artistic point of view, the palette that an artist chooses says so much about them in the sense of who they are as a being, their state of being.
Yeah.
If they're using too much black, or the symbology, if they're into horror characters and they're just too much blood and women being crucified, and you're looking at the symbology, oh, that guy's not right there. But it could even be like a dragonfly, but just the colors that he chooses to use will say a lot more about that individual as well, just so much as it says about the individual wearing it, which is why co-creation is so important, because I'm not trying to put who I am on your skin. I'm trying to be the printer in your head, so it's more a reflection of you.
It's a way of honoring that person.
100%.
Sort of thing. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So I love it, because what I've just had done is so me, and even the Japanese lily on my shoulder is so me, and butterflies on my hip, sort of thing, with my kid's names, I should say. So as much as my dad, when he found out the other day I'd had another tattoo, he's like, so he hates them. And I'm like, bad luck, Dad. This is me, and this is what I decided to do.
They're always going to be like that. My mum still to this day is
you do
on
it
my case
for a living.
I'm like, Mum, I'm a tattooist. Like,
yeah, that's it. So, but even like for yourself, like in your arm sleeve, there's so much color in that sort of thing. So I love the fact that, like you said, you can tell so much by a person's personality and the way they are by their artwork that they sort
I'll write a
of
book about it one day.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting, actually, sort of thing. And even to more looking at the scientific side of what you're doing with the diagnostic side that you sat and did with me. Oh my God, I laid in bed last night and I actually read through that report, and I'm thinking, hell, this guy knows a lot about me. Sort of
what was your aura color?
Blue.
Blue, yeah. So the boundary thing, the difficulty saying no, and
that's so
instilling boundaries,
Yeah, and that's something a couple of my friends, and I know Simone said it lately, Deb saying it to me lately, they're like, you got to start saying no more often, sort of thing. So I usually am fairly good at that, but have found lately that yes is creeping back in, sort of thing. But even down to the point of relationships with people and stuff like that, with what the in-depth that program goes into. Have you got that stuff loaded on your computer that you could share your screen?
What stuff?
Like the report side of stuff. I don't mind if you want to show mine. Or even just the aura hand that we could sort of touch on a little bit.
I don't know how I'm going to do that without messing this up, because I've got to. I've got to log into it and then pull. It's going to take me a bit. Yeah,
that's all right.
I can do it another time.
Yeah, we can do that another time. That'd be a great idea. Like I don't even mind you. Yeah. Like you can share mine. I downloaded the hand one. So let me just have a quick look and see. Yes, I have. I could share the hand one if you would like to.
Oh yeah, the electrograph thing. Yeah.
Where is my screen share? Let me bring that up. We're probably just going to see you in multiple. Now let's go window.
Hang about. Simone just said, oh my God, I see music and color and taste color. What? What does purple taste like?
Interesting. Cocktail. No, that was blue cocktails. You fed me that nice, Simone. What am I doing? Just give me one sec. Let me open the picture and then it might work that way. Okay, so if I go back to screen share, there we go, share. Okay, can you see that on your screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. It helps if I bring it up. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe if
Can you zoom up a bit on it?
Can
you like?
let me drop me out, so it's only the two. No, I'm dropping you out now.
Right.
And
Oh yeah. Okay, so for people that don't know what they're looking at, obviously there's a few things to look at. The color balance. We all have that, from purple to from red spectrum. It's there. What we're looking at are some telltale traits of the arcs, as they're known. So the little lightning things that are quite large and long and spindly. That's more indicative of the more dominant energies, particularly when somebody is doing Reiki or any type of hands-on healing. You want to know what sort of dominant energy is flowing through into the other person, which can be noted for that individual and how they do their practices. It's very insightful information to know. So we saw with Leanne, and this was after you touched Tara, or was this before? Probably not sure. Okay. But yeah, the point being is crown chakra dominant with the throat chakra dominant. So I'd say those with the bit of sacral action going on there. And indicative of all hands-on healers is the magenta hue on the fingertips with the white outline. So Leanne definitely has those traits. Yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell.
Now I'm on the opposite side, but that's okay.
It's okay.
It's pretty fascinating. We'll just move each other around. That's okay.
Sure.
It's very fascinating with what you can actually tell from that stuff. And it was really fascinating. What I found was you did the reading on me, and then I hopped onto your tattoo bed. I held a crystal while we did that, and to then go back and actually have it redone and to see the changes in the way my chakras had changed, and it had brought more balance into alignment as well.
Just for that short time. So you can imagine when you're sitting there for 6-7 hours.
Wow.
And we didn't even do the frequency therapy stuff, and
that's it.
I didn't do the Rife treatment stuff either. So like when people first see me, like I try not to go too overboard. It's just kind of keeping it simple. But then the more you see me, the more we can go step by step, because if the average person just come in and I just went, here's everything I do, your head will just go. Yeah. So that's where the intuitiveness comes. So that's why it's so important at the start to meet and greet, go through the diagnostics, and then it's almost like I'll know intuitively what this person needs, or if worse comes to worse, ask what their spirit soul's telling me,
Yeah. My mum was here and said hello earlier, and I'm presuming she's still watching and Dad's listening in. So Dad, I have to go back for more tattoos to get the whole experience.
That's right.
Not that I need an excuse to come and see you. Simone says that purple tastes like bubblegum to her.
Bubblegum.
Very interesting. Damn. Oh, what was it, Billy Bubblegum?
Hubba Bubba.
Hubba Bubba, that's right. God, I am showing my age lately, aren't I? I know. I had my packet of tubes for lunch today. I'm happy little camper for the next day or two. So
yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about memorial tattoos? Because I'm sure you would do a lot of those.
Okay. Can I tell you or share a little bit about the first one that really kind of impacted me and kind of set the trajectory for tattooing with ashes and stuff?
Yeah.
I feel for this one. I still got the newspaper articles and everything, but it was around my 4th year of tattooing, I think, and I was so focused on wanting to do portraits. And I remember working at the studio, there was always a hierarchy of people from a phone call that would come, and I just remember this one day, people were like, no, I'm not doing that. And the next person was like, no, I'm not doing that, not doing that. And it came back to me and someone says, hey, you want to do a portrait? I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like, good, talk to her. So I was like, all right, cool. And she was like crying and sobbing. She was so grateful. And I was like, oh, okay. She goes, oh, I've been to everywhere in South Australia. They refused to touch me. I'm just so glad that you're willing to take this on. I'm like, what do you mean? What's going on? Oh, I just flew over from Sydney. I just want ashes, and my daughter just died, and blah blah. And I was just like, all right, whatever, I'll get to do a portrait. I was a bit naive. And then I remember the next day when I rocked up, she was already there. Like I rocked up at 9:30 in the morning. She had a blanket in the car park, empty car park. holding an urn of ashes, like doing some like chanting kind of thing. And she was just crying, sobbing, moaning. I was like, whoa. So I'm at the door just going, hey, how you going? And I'll be with you in a minute. And I'm just like, shut the door. I'm like, oh God, this is intense. So, you know, instinctively I was like, we can't play heavy metal for this woman today. You know, we need some ceremony. So I went next door to the hairdressers, got some candles. Do you have any incense? Like, I felt like I really needed to do something special for her. And I told everyone when they rocked up, like, shut up. This is not the day for your crap. Like, I've got to look after this woman, you know?
Yeah.
So I ended up doing this portrait for her with the ashes, and it was one of the most hardest but most rewarding experiences, and especially when she shared the story. And basically, long story short, she had to make a choice. So I guess to put in context, I'll explain a little bit of it. But she told her daughter, who was 13 at the time, not to use this particular heater upstairs. She didn't trust it. And this one particular fateful evening, she decided to use it. And mum was downstairs, awoken to her daughter screaming. And the screaming stopped, and she just knew that it was gone. By then, the house was ablaze. Heaps of stuff was going on. So she chose to remove herself and save the rest of the family. And they watched the house burn down. So she was actually exiled from Sydney because everyone, it went on the news and everything. And the backlash she got, everyone was saying, you should have stayed. You should have done this. You're a piece of shit mother. All her friends turned against her. It was horrible. So she exiled to Adelaide to stay with some other family members. And then when she was mentioning about the tattooing, wanting it done, everyone's just like, nah, that's horrible. That's so unhygienic. You should be ashamed. Why would you do that? You know? And she's like, this is just what I feel I need to do for my daughter. And that's why she was so grateful, because she's like, you have a heart, you have empathy. Like, thank you so much. I know it's against the rules and everything, but thank you for doing this. I don't give a shit what happens. I just want my daughter connected to me, you know? Yeah. So, you know, passed through that time. And I remember a few months later, the local Messenger newspaper went to do an interview on me. And I was like, oh my God, this is my time. You know, it's before Facebook and stuff. You know, to get a bit of free advertising. And I remember like one of the questions was, what's the weirdest tattoo you've done? So I mentioned about the ashes stuff. So, you know, the next week the Messenger comes out, I'm like, oh my God, this is my big break. It's going to talk about all the other stuff. And the whole thing was like tattooing with ashes, and the whole story about me and the memorial tattoo stuff. And phone call after phone call after phone call for weeks and months later. Oh, do you do memorial portrait? And I just started doing them. Yeah. And, you know, I just loved the whole, the ritual, you know. So before I knew any of the stuff that I know now, those situations put me in a position to start exercising that, practicing, playing with that, you know.
Yeah, that's it. I love it though, because our intuition's always there, but obviously things happen in our life that can cloud that intuition. And obviously around that time, that could have been a trigger to open your intuition up, sort of thing, and get things moving in the direction they needed to. But to me, like with grief, we all deal with grief in different ways, and we see so many different ways that people do things to grieve and to feel closest to their loved ones like that. So I myself find the memorial ones quite interesting, sort of thing. And it's not just about having that person's face or whatever on you, it's the story that goes in it, because the other day, that time that I spent at your place just seemed like it went so quick, sort of thing. And the information you start talking about, or the things we talk about, can get quite in depth. So I can imagine the stories, the reflection side of stuff that comes out when you're doing tattoos like that. That is all a big part of, you know, it could be the kickstart to that healing process, or taking it to another level.
And I think that's the issue in the world, or being an adult, is we don't understand death. We don't even understand life, really.
Very true. We spend our life trying to understand it.
Yeah. But when it comes to death, like what? People just show up at a funeral, they take one day off work, dressed in black, listening to people who just got no empathy, going through protocol. 1 hour later, have some biscuits and some tea, send off and go home, and then go back to work the next day.
That's it. But these days, you're lucky if you get that at the moment. So.
Well, that's right. And it's even worse now. But the thing is, like, imagine, okay, this is a little bit off topic, but see, in my past life, I was a shaman, and I was doing death rituals. So I would bury the dead, and I would inscribe the dates on the trees and stuff like that. So like there's always a big part of me to quit tattooing and all of this and start I've been looking at like a death doula type thing, or holding my own funeral service is kind of the thing I want to do, because I want to go back to the esoteric aspect. So when people come, you know, we're all there to kind of sit there and be like, well, what animated this person? What was this invisible thing that is no longer in that body now, that's sitting in front of us? They're all there because we truly come together not knowing what the hell was happening. And you got no one to touch on that and to talk about it and to put people at ease of like, there is life after death. The spirit mourns the loss of the body and is around for some time. So don't just go back to work the next day and forget about it. Spend time every night to contact them and communicate to them. They're there. They come to you in your dreams. Your dreams aren't dreams. They're there to send message, you know, all those type of things. And imagine you could see like the death astrology. I think it's the Vedic or Indian style astrology, where you can actually do the astrology chart of death. So then it helps knowing where the soul is and what's going on with that, and talking about that. Have everybody at the funeral, for example, talking about the last moments they shared with the individual, good or bad. Why do you have to put them on a pedestal that there was this perfect beam of light? Maybe they did have some arguments with some people, but the thing is, like, people had an opportunity to say, yeah, this is the last time I saw so-and-so, you know, peace be with you, blah, blah. And it brings people together, and it's more of a ceremony. And as a spirit, that's what you want people at your funeral to do, to be in harmony, to be in union for you to some regard, or not. But the point being is there's the opportunity there, rather than just listening to someone who's got no empathy, no compassion, blurting out a few chapters out of the Bible and then see you later, you know.
Exactly. And another thing that I always sort of think, and I guess doing what I do, it's something that comes more to the forefront often type of thing for me. I kind of think I want my life to be looked at the imprint that I leave behind. What is it that you're remembered for? What is it that you did, sort of thing? You know, it doesn't have to be huge, but it's also, you know, around that side of it as well.
Yeah, and that's fascinating with your realm too. Like, you get that 100%. And I would love to have a clairvoyant and teach them how to tattoo, because how amazing would that be, getting almost a reading at the same time as the tattoo and the
closure. If I could do artwork, I'd let you teach me how to do it. I'll come and sit there with you while you're tattooing, and I can give them the information. But I don't. They might get stick figures if they're lucky, if I was to do their tattoos.
Maybe we should have to pull up a chair next to you inside a smaller pyramid, and you can do a session at the same time. Yeah, I think that'd be fascinating.
Yeah, but, you know, or there's always the option that I just guide you along that line to get your intuition a little bit more attuned, so those messages are coming through while you're doing the artwork.
Well, I'll share you a little story. You know, when I first started doing it from home, one of the first like memorial tattoos I did was a guy's mother that passed away. And after sitting with him for about 9 hours, I heard like someone saying something to my head, and I just wouldn't say anything, and I could feel it like burning. Remember I was telling you, like, I get that burning in the solar plexus. So I figured out some sort of way at the end to kind of say it, like, oh, you know, I read in a fortune cookie, so-and-so. And he started bursting into tears, and he was like, that's what my mother used to say to me all the time. It's so much what I needed to hear right now. And he started bawling his eyes out. Thank you so much. And it was like that broke the camel's back at the whole session, you know. It all boiled to that moment, you know. And I just felt like he needed to hear that, you know.
That's it. And see, it's just trusting on what you get, sort of thing. I love the way my mother doesn't trust me to do a tattoo on her.
Sorry, Leanne, you're not doing a tattoo. Oh.
Dad might have something to say about that, Mum, if I did. I'd definitely be disowned then.
What if it's a tattoo for your mum? Like,
oh, there you go. Well, Dad was a bit upset because you didn't put his initials on my shoulder back in whenever it was I got it done. I'm like, Dad, you're not dead. When you're dead, then you get that opportunity. I'll go back and see Pablo. So, exactly. There's still plenty of room.
Sort of, but then again, it's also good to do memorial tattoos while they're still living. So then when they die, it's more of a fond memory imprint when you look upon it, as opposed to going through but, you know, it's different. Yeah. Like for my cat, for example, you know, before my cat passed away, got bitten by a snake in the ear of the snake. I decided, months before I got a tattoo of him. So when he died, I was like, you know, his name was Chicken. I was like, I love you, Chicken. You know, I don't think I could have gone through the tattoo, you know, after the fact.
Yeah, that's it. Mum, if you do want a tattoo, you do have Pablo's phone number in your little book from the expo. There you go. When I said to her the other day I'd had it done and she asked who did it, I said, yeah. She goes, oh, I got his phone number. So she remembered that, but she couldn't remember what you look like. So there you go. So beautiful.
No Photoshop.
That's it, exactly. So, but tattoos, you know, people don't realize how much more there is to it, sort of thing. So how in depth they can go, what, you know, like you said, what you can tell about a person.
Oh, and this is just what we're talking about is just that much of it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And we could talk for hours on this stuff, sort of thing, because I know you've got a lot of different information and a lot of different things that you go into as well with that. So Sarah is here. She says, I might need to watch the replay. I only just got in. All right. You still in Darwin, honey? So Sarah's been away on holiday. So Sarah, you would find this stuff really interesting. We are talking about tattooing, what the tattoo means, the part of the body, and how it sort of relates and tells a lot about yourself in that way. So I'm sure you will enjoy it. Is there anything else you want to touch on? Because I know we're just about out of time.
Time flies, eh?
It does.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm going with all this, like, I'm actually trying not to pay too much attention to it because I don't know the outcome. Like I'm in this rabbit hole of discovery. And I think what's going to help me get, I guess, to a point where maybe I can do like a TED talk or a book or spread the word even more is finding community. So it's like this opportunity, if you know anyone that, you know, wants to learn more about this or can contribute more information to the path that I'm on. And I'm going to start my school. So I'm going to start teaching people how to tattoo, but it's an integrative tattoo school. So it's combining the metaphysics with the integrating of it through the tattoo medium. So I don't know what to call it. Like if you'll be an holistic tattooist, esoteric tattooing, I'm not sure, but
I'd say it's a mixture of everything. I don't think you can actually separate it to one thing or another. I honestly feel that's it. And I'm like I said, I think I said to you the other week, I'm not big on labels. Yes, I call myself a psychic medium, but to me that is a label. I kind of feel like the days of trying to conform to a certain way are gone. Yeah. We are changing. We are evolving. Fluid. That's it. And we just need to go with the flow. And I think I said the same thing to you the other day. We continue to grow. We never stop learning, sort of thing. And we change. We develop as we evolve, sort of thing, with that side of it. Now, Louisa's just saying, I'm wanting to get a group of diamonds in different colors to represent my kids and grandkids. Louisa, got good news for you. Pablo is here in Mount Barker because I know you are as well, honey. So there you go. Cool. We can hook you up. I do need to say, and I forgot to tell you that I did this, and I'm sure you won't mind. For people to be able to contact you, in the description above this video or this live, I have put Pablo's email address so people can reach out to you through that way, if that's okay. Cool. Well, I hope it's okay because I've done it. I knew you'd be fine with it.
That's fine.
I haven't got him onto Facebook yet, and I don't know that I'm going to win there, but still.
and I'm old school also. I'd just like to share with your viewers and stuff is like, yeah, you might start the initial contact with email, but it's about the phone call. Like when you're discussing art, when I'm trying to tap into you and understand your emotional connection to your tattoo and discuss options like we're doing now, how can you do all this in an email? Like you have to, something about society where maybe the telephone isn't being used as much as it should. And because my service is a little bit different, it's a lot more personal. So just be prepared that, you know, a part of it is understanding each other first and going through that process. So I like to talk on the phone and then we can build on from there. So I'm not like an email guy or
it is very personal. That's it.
But if you teach me how to do this webcam stuff, then we can do consults and stuff this way. This would be cool.
Yeah, excellent. Or even through Zoom sort of thing as well.
Yeah,
Jen, let's get you on some of that gin. But we won't tell Pablo we've done that first. Then I'll take you to get your tattoo because I know you'll do it then. So, Jen is one of my beautiful followers that she just makes me smile every time. She's gorgeous. Sarah is saying wrist, infinite heart. I'm getting tongue-tied now. Life is beautiful. Ankle, beautiful. I love it. So you got a few there, honey, as well. And Nat
I could
says,
say a lot about her.
Well, maybe we could do that one night. We could invite people to come up and share what their tattoos are and have you break it down. That could be quite interesting.
I would actually
for
love
people.
that, because that'll help me out a lot. And if I'm wrong, awesome, because then I can just go back and be like, why was I wrong? But different body parts, different symbolisms, different things. And then I can kind of like clinically break it all down and maybe help them understand why they chose, because it's kind of what I do. Like you do things so unconsciously, and it's nice to bring things conscious, you know. It'll transform that meaning completely when you understand, oh, so that's why I chose the symbology of that color. That's why I handled the pain that day differently, and side of the body and so forth. So that'd be interesting.
And that's the thing for me, I hadn't really given any real thought why I wanted the tattoo there. I just knew for about 5 years that's where my next one was going to go. And I hadn't really, well, besides the fact that I was celebrating the achievement of the cards being published, was why I wanted the cover of it there. But when you actually broke it down, it really resonated to me why I'm putting it there, what's in it, and how it's all connected. So,
and it indeed is a milestone, which is another reason why people get tattooed. You know, it's either memorials, it's milestones, it's reworks or cover-ups, transformation, or it's for medicinal reasons. It's kind of like the main categories. So I think you've combined a few there. It was the premise of, the cards are done and that's the time in your life. But now you're looking at it as like, well, in that same time, this is what's going on with my health. This is what's going on with me emotionally. This is what's going on with me in other facets, you know, and you've got the report to show some of it and the conversations we've had in the other part of it. And all that can just be looked at, you know, 10 years from now. And that's what I mean. Like, I just want people to know, like, my whole point is like, you get a tattoo from me, and I just want people to look at it as like that was the time they learned the most about themselves.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Sarah's also saying she's got a Buddha as well. And Kim says, I have a fairy just above my ankle on the inside of my leg, a mouse on my right shoulder. Beautiful. I could ask you where is the weirdest part of the body you've tattooed, but that could be a whole conversation on its own. I did think of that earlier.
Genitals are always there. Oh man,
what meridians would be there?
Actually, I don't think there are. I don't think there is a meridian that goes down that way. They all seem to travel like from the legs up and the hips and stuff, but not. Oh, actually, no. Sorry, there is. There's the 24-hour cycle one that goes through like from your top of your crown to your root chakra. There's like two that channel. There is a meridian. I just can't remember the name of it. I literally got acupuncture there once, and he put a whole series of needles from the top of my head, basically in between my bits and my bum in there.
Yeah, right. That could be a bit sensitive. Pain-wise.
They're there for a reason. The meridians, the channels, you know. So.
Exactly. That's it. Exactly. So we're going to stay for a couple more minutes, if that's all right with you, Pablo. And if anybody else has any questions they would like to ask before we do, please do jump in now, sort of thing, and ask your questions. But I'm sure we could get Pablo back on another night, or get him doing his own regular show. I'm sure I could twist his arm.
He's going to listen to me for more than 10 minutes. Seriously.
Oh, serious? I could listen to you all day. So, really? Yeah. But the thing is, though, I think we are so much like-minded sort of thing. So it's kind of, it's like that thing where, you know, your tribe comes together, like-mindedness finds like-mindedness type of stuff.
Yeah, it's very easy to talk to you in this setting and or in any setting, you know, and it's good.
I was going to say, even in Finland.
Yeah, I mean, but it's always awkward talking in the shopping centre, like.
Yeah, it is. It's like, who's she talking to?
You're like, well, I need to like get out of here, but you know, or you're like, oh, I forgot what else, you know, and then when you finish the conversation, you go out and then you get into the car, like, oh, I forgot the milk, I forgot this, I forgot that. Like, thanks, Leanne.
Yeah, thanks. Do you know what? Even being a psychic, it's getting late. It's been a long day. A psychic, I don't know how many times I walk out of a shopping centre and I have forgotten at least one, if not three things, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And usually it's the main thing that I went in there for. So, you know, and I don't know about you, but for me, I'm usually running in and out of shopping centres in a hurry.
Yeah, they're not the nicest place to hang out in, that's for sure.
No.
Unless you meet people like yourself.
Oh, thank you. Make the experience much better. But yeah, you get all that residual energy, and if it's not cleared regularly, it certainly does build up. So
yeah, that's right. It's like equivalent to in the physical realm of after a party, the Coke cans and the empty chip packets. You know, you're not dealing with the energetic equivalent day in, day out.
Yeah,
and what's one of the most pungent energies that you sense in those things? It's the fight or flight. It's the adrenal stuff.
Yeah, it's the fear and all that comes up, sort of thing. And I won't say the town, but it is my hometown for those that know where I grew up, not far from here. There's a shopping centre there. From the day it's built, it's always had very heavy energy. But to me, it's very much land-based ground, sort of, that it comes from. So very interesting. All right, so is email the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, for sure initially, and then I'll send my details and you can just we'll just talk on the phone and stuff.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Excellent. And roughly how far ahead, if somebody is thinking of getting a tattoo, should they allow for making an appointment? Like how far ahead?
Well, because I prioritize so much on the designing before an appointment's even spoken about, it all just comes down to the journey of designing first. So like it's about exploring multiple options. So once we have the initial conversation, it's about exploring multiple options, multiple designs, back and forth until we're happy. And then, you know, I go through it quite thorough because earlier in the interview that we had, we can explain why, you can understand why, I should say, because we want to make sure all the work's done. So then when it comes down to tattoo day, we're not even thinking about the design. So it's different for different people. You know, I'm doing backs, legs, arms, small pieces, big pieces. It's just, I can't really say time frames until I speak to the individual.
Yeah. You said small pieces, my mind went elsewhere then. It must be that hour of the night again. I need sleep.
You're thinking about tubes again.
Right shape. Oh, goodness. Here we go. Don't start me off. It'll be a long night. Yeah, wonderful. All right, well, we might leave it there. So thank you, everybody, for joining in. Please do feel free to share and invite your friends and family to watch the replay as well. Maybe even hashtag and let us know where you are watching from at the same time. So, and hopefully, Pablo, you might get to meet some of these amazing people that do join in on our lives very soon. I know we're going to set up a time and whatnot to meet up with Simone very shortly and go down the pathway of the paranormal stuff as well. So
definitely. I downloaded that app today, so I'm going to play around with that tonight.
Excellent. You have to let me know what you come. See, I can't even talk English now. What you have come up. Oh no.
Yes, I will.
I need some more Maxima so they can keep me awake.
And thank you for hosting me and stuff. I really appreciate it.
You are very welcome. All right. Well, let's say good night to everybody, and I will end the broadcast. If you want to just hang in there for a moment, then we can chat. All right. Wonderful, guys. Remember to be the best version of you and just be you, sort of thing, and take care, stay safe, and I will see you tomorrow night at 8:30, same channel.